Hey everyone, welcome to week 5 of the college football season. My name is Mike Browning. I'm the host of College Football Road Trip at cfbroadtrip.com. So I just got back from an amazing week in Montana. I was able to visit the University of Montana and Montana State, get a few pictures of the stadium and the campus at Montana, along with some spectacular views. I'm going to be working on a blog post over the next week about my trip, so get ready to see that in the next week or so. In the meantime, another crazy week, especially for the Big 12, which kind of failed with Oklahoma losing to K-State and Texas almost failing to Texas Tech, but pulling it out at the end. With that said, we have a full slate of games this week, a couple really huge SEC games that we'll get to at the end of this week's picks. So let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to go ahead and start with an SEC matchup this week. We have South Carolina traveling to number 3 Florida. Florida was able to come away with a very good win last week. South Carolina played Tennessee really close, but just wasn't able to pull it out at the end. I think the same thing is going to happen again this week. South Carolina will stay close for the first half or 3 quarters of this ballgame, and Florida will find a way to pull away in the end. So I have number 3 Florida winning at home over South Carolina in the SEC. Next, let's go to the ACC, and one of the teams that has been a little bit of a surprise to me so far this season. We have NC State traveling to number 24 Pittsburgh. Now, I wasn't surprised that Pittsburgh pulled off a pretty big win over Syracuse, but last week did surprise me a little bit with the win over Louisville. I thought Louisville would bounce back from the Miami loss, but Pittsburgh found a way to win, and I think Pittsburgh, with all the momentum, will be able to continue that momentum this week. So I'm going to have Pittsburgh win this game. Pittsburgh at home with the win over NC State. Next, let's go to our Big 12 matchup. We have Baylor traveling to West Virginia. Baylor took about a quarter and a half against Kansas to really get started. West Virginia, on the other hand, they played Oklahoma State fairly close, but were not able to pull away with that victory. I think now that Baylor has that first win under the belt and that win over Kansas, that momentum will carry them on the week, onto this week on the road. I think they will be able to pull off this win. I have Baylor winning at West Virginia in Big 12 play. Next, let's go to a matchup that might not interest a lot of people because it's from the group of 5, but it should be a pretty good matchup. You have UTSA, Texas San Antonio, traveling to UAB. UTSA is 3-0 on the season, which I definitely would not have predicted at the beginning of the season with the wins over Texas State and Middle Tennessee. UAB, on the other hand, is 2-1 with their only loss coming to a ranked Miami team. So I think this week UAB will actually have too much for UTSA. They've had a great season so far, but I think their undefeated streak will come to an end this week. I have UAB winning at home over UTSA. Next, let's go to the American Conference. We have number 25 Memphis traveling to SMU. I think SMU is another one of those teams that, although I would have predicted them to be undefeated to this part of the season, I think that they've done a good job on dominating their opponents. I definitely do not think that they will dominate Memphis. Memphis is the ranked team in this matchup, but I do think that SMU will find a way to pull this out. I think SMU will be able to have a minor upset in this game. I have SMU winning at home over 25th ranked Memphis. Next, let's go to another couple Big 12 matchups. Our first matchup is Texas Tech traveling to Kansas State. I already mentioned Kansas State pulled off the big come-from-behind win over Oklahoma last week when Oklahoma's defense failed like they usually fail. On the other side, Texas Tech put Texas to the ringer until they fell behind at the very end in overtime. Texas Tech should have won that matchup before Texas made that amazing comeback. So the question is which one of these will have the momentum this week? The team that did win or the team that should have won but didn't? I think in this case you have to go with the team who won last week, which is Kansas State. I think that's what's going to happen. Kansas State will pull off a win over Texas Tech coming off their big win last week. Kansas State at home over Texas Tech. Next, let's go to another Big 12 matchup. We have 18th ranked Oklahoma traveling to Iowa State. Before last week, I definitely would have picked Oklahoma in this matchup. But again, their defense and the turnovers that they have just proved too much against Kansas State. Iowa State went on the road, had a great win against TCU. They always find a way to put things together once you go into the month of October, which will start this week. Oklahoma and Iowa State, I think, will have a very tough matchup. I think it will go into the fourth quarter this time around, but I think Oklahoma knows that if they want any chance of another Big 12 championship game this year, they have to win this game, and I think they will find a way to do it this week. I have number 18 Oklahoma winning at Iowa State. Next, let's go to another ACC matchup. We have Virginia traveling to number 1 Clemson. Clemson is Clemson. They're going to pull a Clemson and win this game rather handily. Virginia might keep it close for a quarter and a half, but Clemson just has too much power, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to find a way to pull it out and win big in the second half. I have Clemson winning at home over Virginia in the ACC. Now, let's get to our two ranked matchups for this week. Both of them are in the SEC. The first one is number 13, Texas A&M, traveling to Alabama. And this one might be a little bit closer to the Clemson game, but Alabama's going to be Alabama in this one too. Texas A&M, over the past couple seasons, seems to be a team that always wins the games they should win, but when it comes to winning ranked games where they're an underdog, they don't seem to pull it out. I don't think they're going to be able to do it again this week either. Alabama's going to be too strong. It'll be close to about a half, and then Alabama's going to pull away. I have number 2 Alabama winning at home over 13th ranked Texas A&M. Now let's go to the matchup of top 10 teams. We have number 7 Auburn traveling to number 4 Georgia. This should be a great matchup. Auburn with the win over Kentucky last week. Georgia struggled for a half against Arkansas, but then absolutely blew them out in the second half. What team is going to show up for most of this game? Auburn, for some reason, always seems to have a knack of winning these types of matchups where they're going against another ranked team. They're slight underdogs. They're not ranked quite as high. This is the type of matchup that Auburn loves. This is the type of matchup that Auburn seems to win. I think they're going to be able to do it this week. I have number 7 Auburn traveling on the road to number 4 Georgia and pulling out the win. So a couple really big games this week. It's going to be a really fun game of college football. Go check out the games. We'll see if I can break or do as well as my 8-2 record last week. Again, next week or so, there should be a new blog on my website, cfbroadtrip.com. I'll be sure to hype that up even more next week once it's live. In the meantime, go enjoy some games. We'll talk to you again next week.